Good afternoon, guys. Those of you joining us, make sure you type present in the videos post in the Google Classroom, alright? Alright. Good job if you already sent your work from the last day. Today we're gonna continue with our class schedule. And we're gonna basically edit it to look a little bit better than we had it so far. So go ahead and open the file from our last class. Have that ready to work with. If you're using Sheets, open the sheet. If you're using Excel, go ahead and open up that Excel file. So last class we did something like this. This class we're going to continue formatting this schedule to look a little bit better than it does now. One of the first things that I want to cover is how it looks when you try and print this out. If I go to File and click on Print, you'll notice the preview, and I'll put it in landscape, and I'll choose legal size paper. You'll notice in the preview it doesn't contain any of the lines that you see back when we're working with it. These lines are really just imaginary lines that Excel creates for you while you're working, but that doesn't mean that these lines will be shown when you print your document. So that's one thing you need to figure out or realize now. So one thing we'll do today is put some borders around cells so that the lines appear, so that the schedule looks a lot better and easier to read. Another thing we're gonna cover today is different cell values and types, and then two more cell formatting settings that we're gonna cover right now actually. So the first thing I want to go through is, and I'm going to write it down here as an example, is what we call cell values or value types. When you enter a value in Excel, it allows you to type in whatever information in a cell, and it shows it back to the user exactly how you typed it, right? If you right click on this cell, and there's an option that should be there that says Format Cells, the first thing that opens up is a window, and in that window the tab there that's open by default is Number. This number goes and tries to format your data in a way that you want it to be displayed. For Google Sheets, you might be able to download it on your iPad. You should just go and check in the App Store and search Google Sheets, and if it's there, then try and download it. If it downloads and opens and works, then that should be good for you there. But if it doesn't open, or if it always closes when you try to open it, then it might not be compatible with your iPad. Okay, so we have the number 100.12345. That's 5 decimal places. But if you click on these different categories, it shows you examples and it shows you more or less how it will look when you apply them. So if you click on general, which is what it was at first, it'll show you that 100.12345 is what's going to stay and be shown there. But if you click on the number category, they allow you to apply formats such as putting a comma if it's 1,000 or more in terms of the size of the number. It also tells you how many decimal places you want to go up to. So if you want it to only display 2, it's going to go ahead and change it to do 2 decimal places. So you want to click OK. Notice that now it's only showing 0.12, but if you look at the formula bar up here, your actual information is not changed or removed. It's only from a visual standpoint that the information is changed. If you go ahead and try to print that, then it's going to print with only the 2 decimals, but as the user or the owner of the Excel file, the values remains the same in the formula bar. So this is really more of just a presentation type of setting. It doesn't change the values. It should only change how the value looks. So we'll go ahead and right click on the cell and format it once again. You can see different options like currency, which will add the $ for you. You could also set different subsettings in currency. You could check accounting, which is also currency based. Date, if your data was on date, you can format that based on these examples here, whether you want it structured like this, structured with the day, structured with the month, the day and the year, and the time, and basically so forth. It all depends on the data you provide though. You have to provide all the information for it to be able to manipulate it properly. So you could even format time to go by 24 hours or the date of the hour and so forth. So you basically can decide and choose which view best suits your data. So basically I also wanted to show you this. I don't think we're gonna be using much of these data values as we go forward, but if we do, at the very least I want you to know where you can find the option. Alright, so I'm gonna delete this cell. Now the second thing I want to cover is in cases where if you're writing a sentence, let's say you're writing a long sentence or a long description in your Excel file, you notice that when you type, it starts to overflow. Overflow just means the information is going over onto another cell, but this is all visual. It's not actually happening. When I click on this cell and you look at the formula bar, it shows you the entire sentence. That's the data found here. But if I go to the cell beside it, notice the formula bar is empty because the information isn't really on the cell B10. It was only over it. It was basically hovering over the cell, not within the cell itself. So one way to solve this problem is we've done this last video, you can increase the width so that it covers the whole sentence, but when you do this, obviously you affect the way how your schedule looks. So I will undo that by clicking this arrow here. Another way to solve this issue is to right click on format cells. This time we go to the alignment tab, and if you notice, you can also manipulate the horizontal and vertical alignments from here, or you use the icons found up here, which is a little bit faster. So if you want this text to show in one single cell and not overlap as you see down here, you select the option that says wrap text. Basically it forces the text to stay within one cell and it doesn't overlap. This makes it a little bit easier to work on your overall spreadsheet, because if you have words overlapping a cell and overlapping another cell, it might be covering information and you'll have to click on the cell to see that information, and then it gets a little bit difficult after that. So to ensure that the information in a cell doesn't overlap to another, you right click on that cell, click on format, and you select wrap text. Now the drawback to this is if the cell is too large for the height of the row, some of the information will be covered, as you see up here. And the solution for that, I guess, is just to increase the height of your row. So just keep that in mind when you're manipulating Excel sheets. If you're gonna wrap text, you might have to increase the size of the row. So that's the second formatting thing that I wanted to show you. Actually, it's the third. The last thing I want to show you is to merge these cells over here. When we merge cells, that's when we take one or more cells, two or more cells actually, and we combine them into one single cell. So for example, I'm going to take cell A10, where you can see the address up here, and I'm going to merge it with cell B10. By doing that, I have to select both cells by left clicking and highlighting the cell next to it, dragging the mouse, letting go of the left click, then right click and format cells. Now we click on merge cells within the same format cell area found under the alignment tab. Click OK, and now if you look at it, there's no line separating these two cells. It has now become one single cell. And I want you guys to pay close attention when it comes to the cell address. When you merge cells, the cell will take the first and uppermost address that it was beforehand. In other words, I'm going to undo it real quick. When we began, the first and uppermost cell was A10, and then when we merged it with B10, it becomes and it takes the address of A10. So if you look up here, this one large cell is A10, and if I go to the cell beside it, it jumps right to C10. That's because when you merge cells, they always take the uppermost and the firstmost rows and columns. So if I were to merge these cells now here, A11 and B11 would become one single cell, and it will take the address of A10 because A10 was the first and firstmost cell out of the entire block. Alright, so just keep in mind of that when you're merging cells, because it will affect formulas, especially when you're doing, for example, some of the mathematical formulas where we reference cells to perform the equation. You guys remember that? So remember what happens to merged cells when you do that. So what I want you guys to do, and this part now is the assignment, is to delete that B1. I want you to select all the cells from A1 to F, sorry. Right click, format this cell, and I want you to merge the entire top row of cells. Then I want you to go and click on the first cell and add back the class once again. Now notice this looks a little bit more neat, because before we had class 1E on the left and the right over here in A and B, but now we see that the class 1E spans the entire table and it works as a header for the entire table. Someone will look at this table and be, okay, obviously this is class 1E's schedule, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and show you a preview of how this looks. So this is how it's gonna look. 1E centered among the entire table, but now what we're missing are some lines to distinguish between each column and each row within our schedule. So this actually will be the last formatting that we'll be doing today, and that's to insert borders around your cells. So click on the first row, first cell, you right click. Okay, on Google Sheets, let me show you that real quick. On Sheets, you don't right click and go to the merge or format cell option. On Sheets, what you do is select the cells you want to merge, and you use the icons found here. You have your merge cell icon here, which is this one here that looks like a page with two arrows pointing at each other. So click on this and that will perform the merge for you guys on Google Sheets. The next thing we're going to be doing is borders, and I'll just show you it in Google Sheets quickly. This little window looking icon here is for borders. You click on that and then you choose how to style your border. You choose the border color and you can choose the style of the line that's going to be drawn. So if you click on this left hand border, you'll notice that the line will only form on the left hand. It's not showing clearly because it's highlighted right now, but when I move away, you'll notice a little darker line around here. I'll click on it again and I'll select this outline border here, and it's going to outline the entire cell with the border. So that's what we're going to do in Excel as well. We're going to click on this first cell here, right click, format cell, click on border, and now you notice because we're working with one single cell, this little box here is kind of simulating that one cell. There's two ways to draw borders. You could use the icons around the simulation or around the little picture here, and if you click on these, it will draw the border depending on which icons you press. You could also click on the outline border, which will give it a line around the entire cell. But in this case, I'm gonna select this thicker line, and instead of clicking on outline, I'm gonna click within the picture itself, and this is gonna draw the border for me based on what I clicked. So now when I click OK, you'll notice this border around my cell will get applied, and now my cell has a nice border around it. And this is only for this cell because I only selected that one cell so far. Now we want to go ahead and apply a border around each and every one of these cells. So I'll select from A2 all the way to F8 down here, and I'll do the same thing, but when I apply this border, notice when I highlighted this entire group of cells, there's a thick border at the top here. That thick border is actually representing the same border that I put on the first cell, because above these group of cells is that same border that goes around class 1E. So I'll actually leave that border alone because I want to keep it exactly as is. And what I'll do is click on a thin line and I'll again draw my border. Notice when I have a group of cells, it shows me 4 cells in the picture now and not just one. And what I'll do is click and draw where I want the border to be drawn. So I have a thinner line and it's going to go in between the cells and also outside the cells. Notice I did not touch the one at the top because I want the one around class E to remain even and have a thick line all around. So we click OK, and now you notice the class 1E is bordered with a thicker line than the ones with the time and the actual schedule. Again, to do this on Sheets, I'll show one more time, I'm not going to repeat. You click on the border icon here. Depending on how much cells and which cells you're manipulating, you're going to have to choose whether you want the borders to be inside or outside or just up or just left or just down. Alright, if you want to remove the border, I think you're gonna have to undo this change. I'm not sure. Okay, it's this option right here, clear the borders. So if you want to remove the borders, you're gonna have to select clear border option. Alright, so back to the Excel. This is your assignment, guys. Merge the first row of cells from A to F, put in class 1E, and then apply a thick border around the cell 1E, and for all the other cells you apply a thin border in between cells as well. And what I want you to do is just add in classes that you want to make up a schedule from. It doesn't have to follow any of your schedules. You can just make up schedule as you go along. Alright, so do that for me. That's your assignment. Get this formatted and finish up the schedule. It doesn't have to be a logical schedule. Just fill in the classes for me and make sure everything looks exactly as you see here. After you put in the different classes, your file should look close to this except filled in. As usual, no due date. Just make sure you get it done. I'm gonna go and check everything probably when Easter vacation starts, so that's around the 5th or the 6th of April. I'm gonna go ahead and check all the assignments we covered. Alright, I think I'm giving you enough time to try and get the work done. Alright, remember what I said, the deadlines I'm not gonna really enforce. I just want you guys to make sure you practice when you can and submit the work when you can. Alright, so finish up. Remember to add the borders. It looks like the same document, but for those of you who reach late, it's not the same document. When you go and click on print, it should look like this. Remember, these lines were not present before, but we are the ones who added the lines ourselves. Make sure you fill in the rest of the classes for me, and then basically submit this same file again, but this time of course you're gonna have to submit it using assignment day 3's post. So I'm gonna go ahead and post this now so that you use this form, assignment day 3, to submit your work to me. Instructions will be found here as well, just to give you a little recap of what we did. So make sure you submit it using this form. Remember, all days and all forms are matched together by name. So each assignment should be based on whatever video was released on that day as well. So assignment day 1 depends on video day 1. Assignment day 2, which was done I think yesterday, depends on video day 2. And finally, today's assignment, which is day 3, is you guys watching day 3. Alright, so going forward, it's gonna follow the same format. Assignment day, video day. Alright, if you're done, go ahead, send it. If you're not finished, you have plenty of time. I'll give you again when Easter vacation begins, then I'll check these. And even if after Easter vacation has begun, still do it, because these files aren't going anywhere. It's gonna stay online and I can always check it sometime later, right? Not all of them are graded. What I'm gonna do is just randomly pick from a few of them and I'll choose those as the ones to grade, right? Yes, if you already sent it yesterday with the complete schedule, make sure you add in the borders. Please rewatch this video if you came in late, and please rewatch the video if your file doesn't have all the formatting that we've done today. It's not a lot of formatting, but again, it's still different from yesterday's file. Alright guys, enjoy your day. I see you tomorrow. I'm gonna end the stream here. I'll still be here chatting if you want to ask any more questions, but the video itself will be brought down, but I'm still here to chat, right? Alright guys, bye.